Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Design Recharge. I'm your host Diane Gibbs, and I am joined by I'm with Claudine Hellmuth. So I'm really excited. I've been a huge fan of Claudine's work for many years. She's done books, which I've had, and I have this one's signed. Everything's backwards, so I'm super excited to have her on. And she's had products made. She's been interviewed. She has a picture of Martha Stewart in her, which I've been a huge Martha Stewart fan. I didn't care she went to jail, whatever. She's pretty crafty,
Yeah,
creative
it was fun
lady.
being on your show, so yeah, I didn't mind.
But there's so many things that Claudine's done. She studied as a illustrator, painter, and so that's where she's going now. And Claudine, give us a little bit of your background, and thank you again so much for coming and being with us today.
I'm really excited to be here. So my background is I got my bachelor's of fine arts degree here in Washington, D.C. at the Corcoran College of Art and Design, which is actually just last week. It's been announced that it's been sold to George Washington University. So that's kind of sad. It was a really small fine arts college and right across the street from White House. Awesome place to go to art school. I did my first 2 years at the Columbus College of Art and Design, which is in Columbus, Ohio, and they have a really strong illustration and foundation background. And then when I graduated, I worked as a website designer for a couple of years. This was back in 1997 when nobody knew what they were doing with website design, and neither did I. So I could learn, I hand coded websites. Like I just typed in HTML into the text file and made banner ads and stuff like that, all while building my art business on the side. And I had started licensing my work then in 1998, and I found a lot of e-groups, and they were called e-groups back then, the Yahoo groups of um, artists and crafters and different people. I was active on Wet Canvas. I don't even know, is that even around anymore? And through that, I started to find a network of people, and people started asking me to come and teach workshops. I found out about Somerset Studio Magazine and submitted my work, and things sort of snowballed from there. So that when I got laid off in 2001, I had already established a really strong business of teaching my workshops. I actually had so many booked for the following year for 2002 that I didn't even know. I knew I was going to run out of vacation time. So I was actually really excited to get laid off, even though it was very, very scary. And I have not had a day job since. So I've been completely self employed since 2001, which is exciting, especially through all of the ups and downs that our economy has experienced in that time period. And my career has sort of evolved and changed along the way. I've been very heavy in the craft industry and designing different craft products. I do illustration. Like you said, I was on the Martha Stewart show, so that was very exciting. And that was a few years ago, but I'm still keeping her logo on my website. So that's sort of
Yeah.
it in a nutshell. And now I'm not traveling and teaching as much. After 12 years of nearly constant teaching and traveling, I'm trying to stay home more, and so teaching online and doing my own illustration work for private corporate clients, as well as I'm designing, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, um, 3D printable items for my Etsy shop.
Cool. So you have a lot of different hats you wear, and you've really
Yes.
kind of been in the forefront of like making this bridge from being a fine artist into another industry. And now, you're still doing that by making your own products and being part of product lines in the past. And then this whole, I think all of that kind of helps you in knowing what to do and how to market when you can kind of see how it's done in the past, and then maybe you can grow from that. But
Yeah.
we're going to get into that for sure.
No,
Go
definitely.
ahead.
It's been really interesting to be on both sides. And I've done both where I work as a licensed artist for companies, and there's benefits to that, where you're not taking on all the risk and you have this other company backing you. But then there's also other things that aren't as great with that, is that you are only making a tiny, tiny, tiny tiny percentage of the sales. And so while you may have a product that sells wildly well, you may be getting $20 checks in the mail. You also are depending on a company to continue liking you, continue working with you, continue wanting to explore your ideas. So while you may not have office politics because you're a self-employed person, you have to kind of insert yourself into their office dynamics and try to get them to constantly be interested in building new products for you. So there's the other side where you're building your own products yourself and it's all on you. There's no sounding boards or anybody else to help you decide what should go forward. And if it's an expensive product, like one that you would need to get manufactured, then all of the money is on your shoulders as well. So it's really been interesting to see like both sides of the different ways of working.
Definitely. Well, that's good. It makes you a really good expert in this field. So, and there's not a ton of people out there. And there's my mom. Hey, mom. All right. So, where did your interest in illustration? Was that something you were always doing as a kid? And then how about collage? Where did those begin?
Well, for illustration, even when I was a little kid, I was always drawing and painting. Even when I was a toddler, my mom would put paper out on the floor and sit me down in my diaper, and I'd finger paint and stuff. And I have vivid memories of drawing paper dolls with my neighbor friend. I even had a craft club complete with invitations that I would make and hand out. And once a month, I think it only lasted for like 2 or 3 months. I lost interest in it. But the plan was once a month, people, my little students would come and I would do a craft with them. And I have memories of we made little pine cone Christmas trees and stuff. And I had the project and they had to all follow the directions. So it's funny that then, even now I'm almost 40 and that's like what I do to make a living. But so I've always been interested in crafts and arts. And even when I was really young, I always said that I wanted to be an illustrator. And specifically, I wanted to illustrate children's books, which I have not done yet, but there's still time for that. But so I've always really wanted to be an illustrator. There was a brief period of time where I thought I wanted to be a journalist, but then I was stuck at my mom's office. My mom was a journalist, and a big story broke, and I watched her write an entire story. This was about there were these killings in at Gainesville University, and this was in the 80s, and so the story breaks. She writes this entire story in 10 minutes. And even then, I had the self awareness to know I am too anxious of a person to be able to work on that kind of a deadline. Like even a 24-hour illustration deadline like makes me crazy. I spend the first 3 hours going, I can't do this in 24 hours. And I run around. So I knew then that I could not be a reporter. So I turned back to wanting to be an illustrator. So that's my long-winded answer. And then for the collage, actually when I took a lot of private art school lessons outside of high school, so during my junior year of high school, it was about 4 hours every night, so about 20 hours a week of these private lessons.
Wow.
And yeah, and she was really big on keeping a sketchbook and collaging and things like that in there. So I had always kind of done that. And then, but then I considered myself a painter, so that was just sort of like for my sketchbook, and the painting was like the better thing, and so that way of thinking kind of stayed with me through college. And it wasn't until my last year of college I had already finished my thesis, which were these big giant oil paintings. And I finished it early because I'm always early with everything. And then I was like, oh, now I have all this time to do whatever I want. And what do I want to do now that I'm not going to be graded on it? And I decided that I wanted to experiment with taking the collages out of the sketchbook, and that's exactly what I did. And then my professors were all like, these were amazing. This is like the best work you've created. These have to be in your thesis show. And so, yeah, so then it was like, okay. And then it was kind of full steam ahead collaging from there. But it was always something that I'd kind of done as more of a side thing. And then, yeah, and then I just decided, well, it was a valid way of working, and I really enjoyed it. So I just focused on collage since then.
So let's see some of your collage stuff. So this is one from the book, and I hope. I mean, I know you have guest ones sometimes, but I hope this is yours. But you do a lot of these retro kind of feel, and then these people have, you go from these 1950s kind of feel stuff. So what started your love there? Like, I know my mom she was a home economist, and so that's what she studied in college. So she had all these great, I still have them because they're so great. You would love them. But the drawings of the women and these waists that were like this
Oh
big.
yeah, that's awesome. Well, what started first when I was in college, I was doing more work like that was in my first book, the one with the Eiffel Tower on the front. So it was
Mhm.
very vintage and darker, and so actually by the time I got that
Ah,
book deal, yeah, I really kind of run out of steam. I've been doing that work for about 7 years at that point because I'd been doing it in college and everything. And so even though I got this book deal and I was teaching workshops around this work, uh, I really had hit a wall artistically, and I was very just burnt out. I sort of felt like that work had lost its excitement for me, and like, I ran my course with it. I kind of felt like I'd said everything I needed to say. So I had to kind of keep up doing that work for writing that book. And that book I wrote in 2002, but it didn't come out until late 2004. So I was on like the slow track. I think it was 2003 or I can't remember, but it was around there.
I'll look.
And yeah, see when
The
it came
this one?
out.
No, or this
Yeah,
one.
that one. No, the first one.
This one? Oh, I think it was 2000. I'll look. You keep talking.
Yeah, the brown one. So anyway, so then
Yeah.
so I took about a year and a half, 2003. Okay, yeah. So it was like December 2003. And by then it was in late 2002, I was already experimenting with new work. So behind the scenes, I was just playing and drawing and really re-looking at what inspired me. So, and I talk about this in the second book because of the abrupt change in style, I thought it was a good opportunity to talk about finding your own style. And I would look at like folk artists, and instead of just being like, oh, I like this person's art, I would try to drill down to, well, what is it in specifically about this person's art that I really like? Is it their color? Is it their use of line? Is it the fact that it's um, a fun, lighthearted piece? And so I had this long list of different things that now kind of got me excited about seeing other people's work. And so then I started experimenting with incorporating those into work. So there was many not great pieces along the way. This went on for like a year and a half until I sort of started to touch on the style that you see in the book. And then my first book was this really great success. So then they were like, well, we want you to write a second book in a hurry. So I was on the fast track for that book. So that book actually came out, the second book came out very close, like not that far away, maybe like a year later or year and a half later, I think.
Yeah,
Uh,
2004.
yes, yes. So it looked like I had gone through this super abrupt style change, but really there was like 2 years in there of experimenting and gnashing my teeth and just being depressed with and frustrated and all of this kind of stuff. So really, so to answer your question, how I got to the 50s thing was that was one of the things on my list. I love looking at 50s ads. I think it's just so funny how over the top they are and how um, excited women get over their appliances and it's so and just the vibe, just like the overall vibe. And even my work, it's been interesting to see how my work has changed from obviously from 2004 till now, where I'm doing still similar work, but the work has gotten more detailed and there's just differences in there. So I'm trying to learn from my past experience where I worked and it's very narrow, specific style, and I just worked in it until I ran it into the ground. And I'm trying to work in a way that's more, there's a style and a feel, and then I can branch off from that in all of these different directions where it feels cohesive, but it doesn't get redundant for me. So we'll see. I don't know. I seem to always be on a 7 to 10 year cycle. So I'm kind of at that point now. And I do feel like things are changing with doing these 3 dimensional items, but I feel that they tie back into that 50s sort of retro look that I really like so much.
Well, let's show some of these because I know if you're new to Spreecast, so if you're one of the visitors and you want to be able to chat, just sign in with an email address, your Twitter or a Google account, and I think
Yeah.
or your Facebook account, and then you can actually just type in. You can ask questions. So I'm going to put on one of your ovens,
Oh,
and
yeah. There are the ovens.
so here's how this works. So I'm the only one who can get it off your screen, but you can actually move it around. So if you are on it with your mouse right now, just move your mouse off of it and then move your mouse back on it and move it to the side so you can still see Claudine. You can put it over me. So
Yeah.
I love, so to me, there's connections between that and this color wise, your colors, the detail, the drawing style that you were doing in that book is still there. And when you see what these things open up to people, I can't wait. You guys are all going to be printing them out on the Etsy store because these are super cute. And I love the little whatever
Yeah,
you
the
call that
little
thing.
oven mitt, you can use that as a gift tag. And I drew a lot of ovens over the last 10 years. So the oven to me is it is like a little symbol of the 50s, housewife. It's just, they're so cute. I love these I just
But they,
made because I thought it would be fun. And
and
they went completely viral on Pinterest. And it still amazes me how they really resonated with everybody. And I just love it. I just thought it would be fun to make a little oven that people could print and assemble that would hold a cupcake inside. So you can
and
put,
there's the cupcake.
yeah, there's a little cupcake. So you can put the cupcake inside. And for someone like me that doesn't even bake, this is a great way to make a a little handmade gift. You could buy a store-bought cupcake and put it in there, but then give it to your neighbor. People are using them a lot for baby showers and gender reveal parties. There's all these, I didn't even know this was a thing until I started doing it, but people have parties to reveal the gender of their baby. And I think that is a fabulous idea. And so they'll have like either the pink ovens or the blue ovens, and it's just really cute. And so these photos are by Sweetopia, and her blog is at sweettopia.net. And if it wasn't for her, she discovered my little ovens back in May, and she pinned them on Pinterest and on Facebook, and it was amazing the response that I got. I couldn't even believe it. It was really exciting. Yeah, so
Well,
that
so
felt like a really good validation for it, because this was when I was first this time last year I was taking baby steps in this direction. I had just a few little kits in my Etsy shop for things that people could print and assemble. And so yeah, so it felt like good validation for me that this was a good direction to keep exploring.
So one thing I think is so neat, you've made this very accessible for anybody. It's not like you have to be a designer and you have to be able to know how to put these together and score and do all this. You have made videos that help people. You've made PDFs that help them. But there also, one thing I think is really neat is that instead of making one big piece so that they have to go somewhere and print it out, that you haven't done that, which I think is a really smart thing, because these are not something that you buy. I mean, you buy the PDF, correct?
Yes, yes, you only buy the PDF, and then it's designed so it will print on letter paper and A4 paper for my European customers, and then you just cut it out and assemble it. And I have a video that's on YouTube right now. Like, I want people to be able to see the video before they buy. I didn't want it to be a hidden video that they would only get if they bought the kit. I wanted them to see so that they could self-select out. If they're like, oh, no way am I going to do that, then I would rather that they know that before they buy it. And then they could print and make as many as they like. And they can also take it to like FedEx and or Office Depot and have them printed there if they don't want to print them at home on their printer. So that's easier. But yeah, and then you could just sit there and cut it out. It really doesn't take too long all to make them. And I've been working really hard on making personal cutting machine files for specifically. I'm starting with this kit. There are these machines that, if you haven't heard of them, there's machines that are like about the size of a printer, and you can open these special files in the software that goes with the machines, and then print it, and then insert the printout into the machine, and the machine will completely cut it out for you and score the lines. It's like the most fabulous thing in the world. So then I'll have two separate kits. I'll have the ones for the scissor cutter people, and then the ones for the people that have those types of machines. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, so I added the link to your Etsy store.
Oh, I
So
see it.
what was
Yeah.
was that like a, hey, should I just make these and sell these as a product? I mean, that might have been something that, because that's more of what you're familiar with, I would think, than like digital downloads. So what was in your thought process of going the digital route?
Well, I really wanted something that could be passive or semi-passive income. I wanted to restructure my entire life. I had a lot of licenses, I had illustration clients, I had everything that was very active. And while licensing sounds like it is passive, I do not think it really is passive income, because the cycle of licensed artwork is very short now. Back in 1998, you would design something and it would be out for maybe a year, maybe a couple years if you were lucky. Now it's like one season. So you're constantly designing new work, and you're not getting any advance money for designing that work. So I just really looked at everything, and I have a friend that I meet with once a week, and we talk about business, and she was working on some digital download products. And really, if it weren't for her, Barbara, hi, I hope she's watching. Um, if it weren't for her, I never would have had this idea, because I was very uncomfortable with the idea of people downloading my work and
Hmm.
piracy. And I have had my problems with that, but you're going to have problems with that unless you're putting your art in your closet or under your bed. You're going to have problems with that anyway. So I was meeting with her, and so slowly getting more comfortable with the idea of downloads. I listened to a lot of podcasts. So I listened to Pat Flynn's Smart Passive Income. I listened to Blogcast FM, which is now called
Um,
Creative.
yeah, with
I can't remember.
Siri,
Yeah,
yeah,
and and I listened to a lot of podcasts. And
Srini.
Srini, yes, Srinivas Rao, but I can't creative. I'll
I can't
remember
think
it
of it either.
later.
It's orange and black, or like a dark red
Yeah,
orange. I know the colors.
creators or something like that. But anyway, they were all talking about like passive income, and I was like, yeah, like I need some of that because I had a big, I need some passive income. And because like, what do you do? It's just you and your business. What do you do if your parents get sick or somebody gets, or something happens and you have to completely stop your business? And at that same time, I got dropped like simultaneously by two or three different of my licensing clients. And these were licensing clients that I had worked with for a year and a half on product, nearly full time working on it. And then they decide to not go to market with the product. So that was a lot of time where I did not make any money. And I was like, well, what am I going to do with these things? And one of them was for a folk art company where I made these. I thought they were really cute. They were little like Halloween houses and whimsical, and they were three-dimensional, and there were these elements and things that would go with them. And so through talking with Barbara, we were like, what if I just made them flat where people could print them out and put them together? And so I started with 4 kits for Halloween, and that was October 2012, so like a year just this past October.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, I'll put them in my Etsy shop, and my completely neglected Etsy shop, which had nothing in it, but it was floating around out there. And I knew if I took the time to like build a web, build a proper shop, like then the fear would set in and it would never get done. So I knew I just needed to make these. And then as I was converting some of the kits, I started getting ideas for other things I could add, like cute little tombstone opener things. And I started really rediscovering my enjoyment of doing package design. Like when I was at Columbus College of Art and Design, they had a really big industrial design program, but that was really kind of before we used computers a lot. And so it was all by hand and very tedious. And like I didn't like that part at all. But now with the computer, everything, like you can make a square and it will be square. Because if I draw a square, even with a ruler, it will not be square. So now with the computer, I can I can get past some of my you know like handicaps there. And yeah, so through it was like this like little bubble of trying something, and then I just put them up on my Etsy shop, and they did really well, like for what I thought. They did well. I felt like my effort of getting them up there, it was worth it. So then I made some Christmas ones because I had a few little Christmas designs that I had
Hmm.
also created. And then I made some paper dolls because I used to make paper dolls by hand um and put them on magnet paper and sell them through my, there they are. Yay! That's my
I
friend
love paper
Carrie.
dolls.
Yes. I know, it's so fun. So I had like all these clothes and everything. So I thought, well, I'll make like the paper dolls where people can add their own heads to them. And so I did that. And then those were doing pretty good. And then I had the idea for this oven and a couple of other things like the ice cream. Let me see, where's the ice cream? Oh, I don't have the ice cream truck here. But a couple other things. When I had a product line with the Home Shopping Network, I did a lot of these. This was a scratch and sniff sticker kit.
Oh,
So it was so
cool.
awesome. And it has scratch and sniff stickers inside when you open it up. So I've been doing some package design for HSN, and like I made
I think
little
I have the.
suitcase. Like this a cute little suitcase. So um, yeah, and there was a ice cream truck too. So yep,
This
there
one.
it is. Yeah, so that ice cream truck I made into a printable kit that people can assemble and a little cupcake go inside. And then I started discovering that how much people really enjoy things that cupcakes go in. So I started expanding my kits and kind of making sure like a cupcake or something could go inside. And so then I've made recently like a little camper, RV, and then you could fit cupcakes or mini cupcakes in this. I've made little what are those popsicles, and these are more smaller and you can put little gift cards in it. And I made um, little hot air balloons.
These are
So
the best. Tell them, show them where there's two places to hide food.
yes, there's two
Like
places
little.
to hide food. So you could put the little cupcake in here, a mini cupcake. I wanted it to fit a regular size cupcake, but these things would be huge. And then on the inside, you can also fit treats. And I fit like a pound of Hershey's Kisses in it. I mean, it fits a lot and it's structurally sound. So I engineered it with toothpicks that hold it up because I figured everybody has a toothpick. So that's the kind of fun part about designing these things is you have to think of if you want to add in an extra thing, which I try to make sure all the kits are like completely self-contained, that they can make everything from the printout. But for the hot air balloon, really the only way was to make it with the toothpick. So I try to think of something that you don't have to be a crafter to necessarily have. Everybody has toothpicks somewhere in your junk drawer that you
Right.
use only once in a while. Like so, yeah. So I've just been. I can't even remember what we were talking about. How I got to this point. So it just sort of grew, and it grew from really a place of knowing that I wanted to build passive income, knowing that I I just felt really disheartened with my career, with the way things were going. I mean, I was so depressed when I got dropped by those clients, and I know that they have their own reasons and it's not necessarily about me or my work, but it feels like it's about you and your work when when you worked hard at something and then it doesn't get born, like. And so
Yeah.
um so it actually now it feels and really exciting because now I'm at a place where instead of necessarily relying on a company to say, oh, well, this product tested well in our sales test, so we're going to go forward. It's up to me to decide, do I want to try that out? And so it's been a lot of rediscovering my own self-confidence in my work and in my decisions, because one thing that happened a lot when I was working a lot in licensing is you're very much art directed by sales and marketing because of course they want to sell your product. So it's all up to the sales team that decides what products are going to get made. And so I became very gun shy. I I would think I had some really great ideas, and then they would be like, "No," like and so like that happens enough to you over a long enough period of time, and I think even the most self-confident person starts to go like, "Well, maybe what I think is a good idea really isn't a good idea." So I think that having the Etsy shop that's something that's completely mine that I'm working on has been a really good exercise for me in rebuilding um, my confidence in just experimenting and seeing like what works and what doesn't work, and just having trying to have fun with coming up with these ideas.
Well, I think they're great, and I think to go from being mainly two-dimensional? Now you did a lot of things that were three-dimensional in this, but they still were sort of flat. They weren't like this much building. I mean, you're really building these things, especially like some of these that are really round.
Yeah, the round ones like the cupcakes and the balloons. Those are more challenging. And I mean, I'm not doing this in any program or anything. I literally just hack up paper and tape it together and form it, and then I slice it up and flatten it out, and then I see where the tabs should go. So it's, yeah, I have a little video that I emailed you the link to, that shows kind of my haphazard process of coming up with these kits. Like some are easier than others, and I'm learning some shortcuts as I get more and more used to working with different shapes. Like the popsicles actually came from the tombstone shape, because it's similar. The tombstones were just wider. So so I'm getting more used to that. And actually, the balloons came from the cupcake shape. So it's actually a similar cupcake shape. And I have apples as well that is the same template. So it's kind of also a fun exercise in, I look at, when I finished a template, I kind of look at it and I see like, well, what else could this be? You know, I like to get as much mileage out of the template as possible. And some are easier, like the houses or things like that as well. But we were talking before when we were doing the test just how much we love packaging. And I am the kind of person when I will buy something just because I like the packaging. There could be just some little thing in it that I don't really love, but I will just have to buy it if the packaging is cute enough. So it's been fun to get back into the packaging aspect as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm trying my best to get it off the air, but it just keeps moving around. Like I'm just gonna have to put something else up so that it goes away. So sorry.
Oh, the cupcake favor box is staying up there.
The video I can't get rid of. So hopefully I'll be able to quickly put something up. Anyway, well, we might get stuck with this one.
Oh,
like
yeah,
my
I
mouse
was
is
able
stuck.
to drag mine away. I had to click on the drag window button, drag window
Maybe I'll
here. But then
click
it
and
wants,
drag.
yeah, you have to be
Ugh,
careful or it wants to start playing.
I know. Well, if you were on my end, like it just keeps moving when I'm moving my mouse. I'm not even clicking. Anyway, um,
Oh, I see.
so I moved down to remove from air and it won't let me. So this is hilarious to me on the back end. Nobody can see, but it is total yuck for me. Like it's great. Her stuff is great, but my ability to be a producer is
Well, we
really
can't see
bad.
it here, so that's the good thing.
Yes, that is good. Thankfully. All right, maybe I can move my mouse down. Oh, okay. We're just gonna put. Ah, did it go?
Oh, it's
Yay!
gone
Oh,
now. Yeah.
thank you, Jesus. Here we go. Sorry about
Yay.
that. Whew. I think we've gone through 2 questions. All right, we'll have to have you back because I know we won't get through all these questions because I really
Oh,
went
yeah, we could
question
do another
crazy.
one. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so you kind of talked a little bit about where you've gotten your inspiration and your it sounds like your curiosity. And I guess this is all I always try to take a teachable moment from everybody and I've already gotten lots. Meredith's got lots already. So what, for me, it's that curiosity. You were interested in this, you had extra time, so you're like, I'm gonna be interested in this, and then you dig deep, and you got, you said you drilled down, you analyzed what you like about different art, and then you started like kind of piecing it out, and then putting that into your own. And this curiosity has led you through this whole thing. You weren't trained in packaging. You weren't like some package designer back in the day, but it's that your curiosity has kept you fueled even when you were down about these other things. You let your curiosity keep growing, and I think that's amazing. Do you think that that's a big part of what's kept you successful?
Well, I love that you said that. I need to have that on replay for when I am feeling completely unself confident, because that is really a great way of framing it. And I think that um, that just being like creativity is curiosity to me, like that, because you're like, well, what if this? What if that? And really, you have to do it. You can't like just think it in your head, like, well, what if I made it pink? Like, I mean, you could kind of get an idea, but you kind of have to do it to see if you like it or not.
Right.
And if people are going to respond to it. And so I do think that like the curiosity is a part of the creative person's personality. But I also think that I I was really encouraged by all of these millions of business newsletters and podcasts and things that I listen to that are just sort of like just launch it and see what happens. Like execute and then wait for your customer's response. And I think Tara Gentili had a really good one a few weeks ago on her newsletter, and it really was just like make it and like launch early and often, and just see what happens. And this is advice I need to take for myself, even like right now today, because I am all in my head and completely rehashing, like, oh, should I do it this way or should I do it that way or should I? And then it's like, well, I'm not going to know until I see how people respond to this new kit idea that I have. And so so I think the combination of just the curiosity of like, well, let's see what happens, also combined with the, well, I didn't really have anything else to lose at that point when I first started doing the kits on Etsy. I I didn't really have any other irons in the fire. I wasn't really sure what direction I wanted to go in next. So it's like, well, let's just try this and see what happens. And that's kind of like everything, isn't it? Like we're all just kind of, I don't think anybody plans out their entire career. I hate it when people ask you that like 5 year question. It's like, I don't know. Like I didn't think I would be doing this. Like you know,
Right.
I didn't think I'd be living in Washington D.C. like 5 years. Who knows, you know? So I think we're all just kind of figuring it out as we go along, and I think just staying curious is what's going to keep things interesting for us, especially as creative people.
I also think that you haven't backed away from challenges. So I think that I always think that there's always that other plan. There's the saying when, one door closes, another or a window will open. It's
Yes,
like sometimes I
something
feel like
open.
and there's some Brendan Burchard was really moved by some woman. I can't remember what her name was for the life of me, but I put it on my Facebook page. So if you're friends with me, which I've pretty much been friends with anybody who wants to be friends with me, you can go back and look. But I'll try to post it again. But it was something about like faith is taking that step, and it's knowing that there's either solid ground or that you will know how to fly. And I think that
Ooh,
is
I
like
like that.
I'll send it to you when I get
Yes.
it.
No,
But to
that's a good
me,
one.
it's a great analogy. There is going to be something. Either you will have, what it takes to keep walking, keep going, or you're going to have these extra new things. And I think that's been you have a really inspiring story. Um, for me, I think that you have let your curiosity, you've just fed it instead of like, and I'm really glad that maybe you're not with those companies because they are doing what Tara is saying to do, but they're testing, and they're not necessarily. Sometimes companies are really good about being in that in the industry, but sometimes individuals, and that's how it's kind of getting now with some of the people that you and I both follow. It has a lot to do with we can interact with these people a lot better than maybe a big company can, and sometimes there can be really a lot of small concentrated groups of people who would follow you to the end of the earth because of what you're doing, and they
Oh yeah,
really
like the
believe in
whole
you.
thing, like, isn't it? We just need who is it? The thousand super fans. Like you just need
Yeah,
really a thousand really like rabid super fans, and you can make a great living with. So it's not really you need millions of people to love you and your work and to follow you. You just have to find those people that really, really connect with your work and will come back over and over and over again. And I think what's happened with a lot of these bigger companies that license that do licensing is with the economy, um, they've gotten a little freaked out. Like, so they don't want to,
totally,
their jobs are on the line, which I totally get because if this
totally.
account manager person says, oh, her work is going to sell awesome. And then like they go to the, the launch show and they've invested all this money and it doesn't, that person's job is on the line. So, I get it, but it's hard when there's, um, there's just the trickle down effect of everybody's hard work not getting seen, and the more freaked out that companies get, the less that they're launching, and the more that they're cannibalizing their best known artists, which I see happening a lot right now, are companies that have artists that are doing gangbusters for them and have been their bread and butter. They are hiring other licensed artists that do work that's very similar to their main star artist. So they're in a way like cannibalizing their own
Right,
market. It's
right,
fascinating. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, why not just have the one artist that
right.
pioneered that look for you and just keep raising them up. But
And
I don't know.
I, I think that's something that individuals can do. You as a company can do much better than than a big company. I think that they're really afraid, and that's a whole nother topic probably.
Yes. Yes, I
But
know we're like on
boy,
a whole other topic, but yeah, but it's just I can blab on for hours. This is the thing about when you work by yourself and you talk to no one all day, then when you get to talk to someone, it's like, like now I'm
well,
just a big
Claudine,
chatterbox.
that's why I started this, because I was kind of in this hole of, I was, dealing with students, but I didn't get to, and I was working a lot. I didn't have a lot of time to go and meet designers for coffee, which I don't drink, but, like I didn't have time to go and I mean, I live out in the boonies on purpose, so I wanted to get home and, I just didn't have time to go and meet for a beer after. So I was like, I've got to feed this. And there must be somebody else that's like me that just needs, I could only go to one conference a year. So I needed something to recharge me more regularly. And that's why I started Design Recharge. I thought we can learn from people's processes, we can learn from their business sense, and then we can be better. We can start selling things, we could start growing, and our curiosity can grow because maybe we didn't know about such and such. So I
Oh
totally know.
yeah. Yes, yes. I love that.
And
I love listening to the interviews, like your past interviews. It's great to have them even just playing in the background while you're working.
Yeah, that's what Alma does. She has her headphones on. Her and I have emails each week pretty much, and she'll say she just has them on in the background. And I think sometimes that's just how you can get inspired from doing things like that, and especially hearing people's story. And that's why I appreciate your candidness. I think that's awesome. So, all right, on to question two. Here we go. I know you found images. I just want to get through a couple more. You've found images, you've created image transfers. So it's not, and this is really a question I really want answered, I guess. You've created image transfers along with a multitude of mixed media techniques. So okay, I'm going to keep reading the question. The question's better than what I could get
Okay.
it. Where has this curiosity taken you as far as mediums and techniques? Are you constantly trying new tools, supplies, and techniques? And is that how you have had some of these? Thank you, Meredith. I just see you put that thing up.
Oh
Awesome.
yeah, that's great.
It is. So when you come to the edge of all the light and you're about to step into the darkness of the unknown, Faith is knowing that one of two things will happen. There will be something solid to stand on, or you will be taught to fly. Thank you, Meredith. I appreciate it. And
Oh,
this is
that's
how my classes
great.
are. Crazy. I don't ever stay on track. Sorry about that. Nice. Anyway, so is that how you found, like, hey, I need this, or let me try this, and then you found that this worked?
Yeah, well, a lot of my original techniques for my first book were ones that I did like in college, and it was very mixed media type school. Um, so that, and then when I started teaching workshops, I found that people love the techniques because it's like a magic trick. It's like a you put this with this, and then oh look, and you've got this other thing. So then I started really because I work kind of I don't pound a lot of techniques into a piece. It would maybe just have one. And now the way I work, it's much more flat. But so I really experimented with techniques for the class, and then later when I had the product line with Ranger, when I had my own paint line with them, uh, you needed to kind of keep coming up with more techniques to show like the different things that you could do with paint. So I would, be curious, like, well, what if I stamped this and layered this and then brushed some paint on top and wiped it off? Like, what would happen? So it was a lot of experimenting. Um, but like the techniques in my first book are those were actual real techniques that I would use over and over again. Then in my second book, those were techniques that were created almost like for the book, but I had been using them in my new work as experimental work, and then techniques, yeah, like those were all fun techniques to experiment with for new work. And then after I wrote that book, the techniques that I would play with were more out of necessity because of having the product line and knowing that people are hungry for techniques. So just listening to my audience and what did they want from me, and responding to it that way.
Well, that's cool. All right, so do you have this big resource, library resource, or do you go somewhere for inspiration? Like for these 1950s people, do you just have this stack in a closet you go through, or where do you get
I
these?
have some old Sears catalogs, and those are
Mhm.
like huge. And so I just really have three or four of those, and that's, yeah, those are enough for me because it's got everything, every product humanly imaginable in there. And so, yeah, just going through those. I have some old National Geographics with their ads about traveling with the family in the family car, just stuff like that. So, yeah, so that's really enough because for me, it's more about the central theme of it, and then the rest sort of happens in my head. But so coming up with maybe like looking through the Sears catalog and seeing a lawnmower, for example, may trigger some idea about a dad and Father's Day and backyard or something like that.
So, and this was a question I had way in the beginning. You have a lot of photos that you'll do Xerox or laser because you need a lot of things that you're talking about aren't inkjet necessarily transfers, but you have a lot of these pictures. And I guess did you go through like wherever you lived? You went to yard sales and you grabbed family pictures when people would sell them, or because a lot of it looked like old photos.
Well, some of them
So
are my family, my husband's family, in the instant relatives, and then photo disc. I do have. They had in the '90s like retro
yes.
people
Yeah.
collection. So and then I would also make little oh yeah, they're saying like they can't see us or something over there.
So
Um,
Costandinos said he said it's working now. Jason wanted to know if he just needed to refresh. First four refreshes didn't work. Did it work now, Jason? We just want you with us. Hopefully he'll type in a minute. There's a
Oh,
tiny delay. Okay, great.
there he's
Yeah,
back.
keep going.
Um, yeah, so I would make my own little hybrid faces in Photoshop. So somebody's eyes, different person's mouth, and then you can make them be expressive or sad or whatever. So yeah, so I would do some of that too to make my own faces. So just always very careful about copyright and all that. So that's where the photo disc people come in, especially like for illustration work and things like that. Or like on that man paper doll that you put up, like those are all photo discs. And then my friend Terry, I needed a friendly. I was like, "Will you be my token black male?" So he is the he's like, "Sure." So I needed someone's permission to have his head there because there was nothing on photo disc or anything that I could use. So I was like, "You would be so perfect as my male paper doll."
Well, there's a lot. I asked a lawyer at a conference one time that he was talking about copyright, and he said, "Do you own the photo?" I said, "Yeah, I bought it, but it was, it's somebody else's family I bought. They obviously didn't love these people because they were selling their photos. People they're like, I don't know these people,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I'm
and you'd be
selling it."
surprised how many people look like other people. It's really
Yeah.
interesting. And I noticed that a lot when I was combining noses and eyes to make like my own faces. I felt like one of those crime scenes or witness uh,
Yeah.
drawing people. Yeah, like coming up with, because there's really like so many, like how they say we all have like our doppelgangers out there. So I think there are only so many different variations. So it's just easier if you stick to your own family photos. And then I did a lot of custom artwork for a number of years. I did custom artwork for people where they would send me their photos. I would make an entire art piece with their photos in it and with their heads in it and stuff. And that was really fun, but also stressful because I
Oh
would
yeah.
just get really nervous whether they would like it or not, even though I had a review phase built in where they could approve it. It was just stressful doing that. So I decided to stop doing that.
Well, the
Yeah.
lawyer said if you own the photo, then you can use it. He said that's just like a painting of Picasso. If I own it, I could give somebody the rights to shoot it and put it in their book, which I never even thought about. Think about it when I'm thinking about like artwork, I mean, like and these are older photos. Yours were older photos. So anyway, I just thought it
I
was
know there's
interesting.
always some workaround thing. I see Alma's asking if I ever animate my work, and I have experimented in I did a little stop motion like of my first Halloween kits, and that's floating around on YouTube. And I did want to do more stop motion, like with my three-dimensional kits as well, because I just thought that would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so I got to show a couple more pictures. One, I got to put Martha up with Claudine.
Oh yeah, that was me when I was on the Martha Stewart show. That was in 2007, and
That's
yeah,
pretty
and
cool.
those were her donkeys. She had these miniature donkeys. And the day before I was on the show, the donkeys were on the show. And so they wanted me to make, I was crafting with her these little flat people that sit on shelves. And so they wanted me to also make little flat versions of the donkeys. And it was so funny though, because I mean, I only got the photos of the donkeys like maybe a day before I was supposed to leave to go to New York, and so and her assistant sent me all these photos because it was supposed to be a surprise for Martha, and so there were all these photos of these donkeys, and then we knew that one of them was a girl and two were boys, so we were looking, my husband and I, at the photos for, donkey parts to see which ones were the boys and which ones were the girls. So that, yeah, and knew I could not get it wrong because Martha would point it out. And but it was really refreshing. There were all these pictures of her pets, and there was like a towel on the floor, and like, just looked like a regular person's house. So I think that helped me feel relaxed when I went to go be on the show.
That's cool. That is good. It would surprise me. Anyway, I
Yeah,
think it's cool. I've
yeah, she
I've
was
gotten
super nice, and like none of her staff seemed afraid or nervous around. Everybody seemed perfectly happy. I mean, stressed out, but it's TV. It's live. It was live television. So, um,
yeah.
yeah, but I mean, it's not, it was really great. It was really awesome.
Well, that's awesome. Well, so let's see if I have any other images. So I want to give you guys an opportunity to see some of the places that you can connect with Claudine. So I'm going to plop up some of her links. I guess talking about donkeys and then plopping might not be the best connection, but we're going to just go past that. So this is your um, email newsletter,
Newsletter.
correct?
Yeah, that's my
And
newsletter.
so like last week or sometime you gave us cool, you could cut out glasses, right?
Yes, yes, little
So
retro glasses. So I do
yeah,
freebies like once a month or so. There's free downloads of different just fun things like that you might want to try out. Yeah.
yeah, they're fun. And there's like her husband, her, and her dog are all wearing three different pairs of glasses, right?
Yes,
On the
yes.
little
I had
promo.
to get my models. Yes.
Your dog wore it well. So then on Facebook, you can connect with her on Facebook and then on Twitter. And I'm
Yep.
going through these kind of quick. And it's Claudine Tweets.
Yes.
And then her blog is at claudinehellmuth.blogspot.com. Thank you,
Yep.
Daniel, for coming. And then I think the rest are all
Yeah,
my
just
little blurby
like
stuff.
yeah, like claudinehellmuth.com is my main website, and you can just Google me, and all of those things have links to all the other things, so you can find me wherever. But this has been so much fun.
It is. I'm so glad. We talked so much the other day, and then we talked again today when we got. So, Claudine, I'm excited to hopefully one day meet you in person. And if you guys want to, it's spring break for me next week. So you get 2 doses of Design Recharge. On Wednesday, we have Joey Ellis, he just is making his comic book. So Claudine, you might want to come because he's making a book. It's for, I guess it's for adults and kids, but it's kid friendly, I'm pretty sure. And he's doing a Kickstarter. So that may be another way for you to finally get your kids' book out. Um,
Yes.
and then, so Joey Ellis is going to be there on Wednesday, regular time. And then we have Kermit Bailey, who has done some really neat things in Raleigh, North Carolina. He's a graphic design professor. So you want to tune in for that. He's brought his kids in the classroom and they've revamped some old parks. And there's just some really cool things that go on when you dig down, kind of like Claudine said, but you're digging down in one certain area and really getting to know the people of this area and then what they needed. So it's going to be a really good one. So who's taking a break on spring break? Not me. It'll be double
Yeah.
duty for me. So if you want to join us again next week, sign up at bit.ly.designreach or whatever. You can read the thingy. Design Recharge, and then you get my newsletter. And I don't give you all this crazy stuff every day. It's just all the questions, and then a link to the show, and then a link to the show 30 minutes before it goes. And then if you want to connect with me on Facebook or Instagram, which Claudine's also on Instagram, and I think it's just Claudine
Oh, yes.
Hellmuth on
Yeah,
Instagram,
just
right?
Claudine Hellmuth. Like I try to be consistent across, and then it just got like
Oh,
Twitter won't let you do like my name's too long, and then
oh yeah.
Claudine was taken, But yeah, I enjoy following you on Twitter and Instagram as well. And if you follow me on Instagram, there are many, many pet photos on there as well.
Yeah, and Claudine and I both have pets, so I was happy to see all the pet photos because y'all probably maybe see too many of Buddy and Nubbin. But so then, if you want, these are two. One's at Design Recharge, and then me at Diane Gibbs AU. It's not Gow or whatever. My last
Gibbs
name's
now.
Gibbs, but I went to Auburn. I've had this AU thing for forever. So Auburn University. We were almost national champs this year, just to put that in, but we weren't because we lost. But we were like, come back from nowhere people. So I was proud of them, proud of those boys. Anyway, if you want to get in touch with me, you can email me at diane@designrecharge.org. We're here every Wednesday and next week on Thursday too. I hope you guys join us. Claudine, thank you so much. You were awesome. And I can't wait to have you back to go through 3 through 12. We'll do the rest next time.
Yes,
Sounds
definitely.
great.
Yay.
All right. Bye, you
Bye.
guys. See you next week.